So guys, here we have Mark Golding as he talk about Vybz Kartel and other issues that affect us as Jamaican, and he mentioned that he is a born Jamaican, so he have the hearts of the people. And guys, I want you to leave in the comment section what you think. Could he very well be our next prime minister? Leave in the comment section and let me know what you think
of what the Jamaica as a high crime society, the demographics.
Every issue like that, which potentially can exclude people, we have to have a proper discussion about, because excluding people is to be avoided unless it's absolutely warranted and necessary, right? And how high you raise the bar needs to be thought through, because people are capable of redemption. And many people do become better persons, having gone through or made a mistake in the past. And so we have to bear that in mind. Yeah.
All right. Another issue is the ability to vote. They don't even want to be a part of representation of politics. They have land here. They have their families here who they carry on their backs. Some of them, the reason they're not back is because they have 7, 10, 11, 12 jobs, sending their kids to school, doing all of that. And they want to vote for you. I can tell you this for sure. Tomorrow, if there was an election and the diaspora had to vote, it would be a landslide. What is the situation about absentee ballots like the United States? Voting for students who are away, and as well as members of the diaspora who have land, paying taxes, have an interest, coming to Jamaica for the diaspora conference and continue to send money. What is your position on that? Because they feel excluded and they feel a sense of discrimination.
This is an issue that in order to make a change that would allow them to participate through voting, would need bipartisan support, because the provision that sets the rule is a deeply entrenched provision. But I understand their longing to be able to vote. The question is, how do we accommodate that in the system that we have here in Jamaica, where we have a constituency-based system? So you have to be registered to vote in a constituency where you're supposed to reside in order to vote, and you vote for a member of parliament for that constituency. So. And because our diaspora is so large relative to our overall population, it could be an overwhelming situation if we just didn't think through how we do it. So one way of possibly doing it is to recognize a non-geographic constituency of persons, Jamaicans residing abroad, and allow them to vote for candidates that they put forward, and they could sit in the parliament. Whoever is successfully elected in that way could sit in the parliament and represent that constituency. I think France has a similar model for that. That's one possible way we could look at it, and there may be others. But it requires some creative thinking. And I think that's going to take a while. There's nothing about that in the Constitutional Reform Committee's report. Zero. They don't deal with that. So. That's an issue which is not presently on the table. But I understand what the point that is being made. I was thinking at least we could start in the Senate. We could expand the Senate and facilitate a rule which would allow diaspora representatives to be in the Senate. And I'm committed to that, in fact. But again, it will require bipartisan support to do that.
But I'm glad you raised that. The proposal of the Senate having 3 persons, and you spoke about Bob Marley and then you spoke about dissent, and my playlist now seems to suggest that YG Marley should be the president of Jamaica next, and he should bring 3 people with him who just probably have dissent anywhere, as it is to sit in the Senate. No contemplation of the ability of the diaspora to participate as you suggested. I'm going to now just conflate all issues to say there is no way for Jamaica to consider being a republic, because there simply just wasn't no conversation with the people. What's your take on that? And in terms of the vision for Jamaica, what would it look like for us to get there? in the context that it's not going to happen before the next election.
Yeah. Jamaica's been at this for a while, you know, because in the 1990s we went through a major discussion about constitutional reform, and most of the things that were agreed at that time have not yet been implemented. What has been implemented is the Charter of Rights, and the Charter of Rights could be implemented because we were then in opposition and we took the decision that we were going to support it, even though we had wanted to pass it when we were in government and we weren't able to do so for a lack of support. But we said we're going to rise above that pettiness, and that is why the Charter of Rights is in our constitution now. In terms of the presidency, the Jamaica Labour Party do not support an executive presidency. The PNP's position has, from long time, as I understand it, been in favor of an executive presidential model. But that is not, we can't move forward with just our view, because the provisions that need to be changed in the Constitution are deeply entrenched, so it requires consensus. So what we have said is, all right, as a first step, let us at least have a Jamaican president rather than the Governor General representing a foreign head of state, the Queen or King, right? So let us have a Jamaican president. And then as time passes and our consciousness grows, we can look at further reform, you know, at a future time to a model that we feel is closer to where we want to be. But in this first phase, though, there's some important issues about this president, because what's very important to me, and this is not just for today or tomorrow, this is for generations we have to be thinking of. We need to ensure that president really is a balanced individual, is not controlled by the prime minister or the government the government of the day, whether that be a Labourite or a PNP or whatever. It needs to be somebody who is independent and has the trust and confidence of both sides, and indeed the wider public. Why is that important? It's important because, first of all, as a ceremonial in his or her ceremonial capacity, that president is supposed to be a symbol of unity in the country. So you want somebody who is seen to be somebody that has the support of both sides. More importantly, perhaps, or equally importantly, is that the president, like the Governor General, is going to have an important say in the appointment of critical positions in various public posts. And you need to have somebody who is making those decisions, who is independent and is not beholden to or partisan towards the government of the day. And there are things in that report from the CRC which, in my view, violate that principle. And I've said so in writing to them through the minister. And unless those things are fixed, we're going to have a problem in Parliament, separate and apart from the whole CCJ issue, which is a huge issue for us as well.
We're going to get to it, you know, but as you are speaking, I'm thinking, well, as it stands right now, the president could very well be the current prime minister's son, and then we'd have the speaker of the house, the prime minister, and the president, one royal family, and I don't know what Jamaica would look like that, as the current model. Yeah. I won't dwell on that, because I did want to say, you're going to talk to Gaza, you want the CCJ, and we are here. I support you 100%, but I want the Privy Council, so...
Yeah, but the argument, I don't see the connection between those two things. We don't have access to the CCJ. The CCJ is a court which has established itself. It's been in existence for over 15 years. Has developed a very high reputation for erudition, quality of its thinking and jurisprudence, and its independence as well. Whatever points of law would allow a decision, the right decision, to be made on an appeal, there's no reason to say that the Privy Council will decide it one way and the CCJ another. So the guys among them, you can't really use the fact that the appeal was won in the Privy Council to say, well, it must be a Privy Council and not CCJ, because you don't know, the CCJ might not have ruled. In fact, who knows, the CCJ may have said, well, appeal allowed and release the man. You know, who knows what they would have said? Who knows? So I'm just saying, you know, you can't really say that. The point really is this. Over 280, I think, is the number. Appeals are heard by the Court of Appeal in Jamaica every year. And of that number, around 2, 3, or 4 at max go to the Privy Council. So our final court is hardly doing any adjudication for Jamaican cases. And that is not good in a variety of ways. That's not good for the development of our law, because we need a third-tier final court to correct errors that are made in the lower courts. Secondly, from an access to justice point of view, the person who loses their appeal at the Court of Appeal here may have justice on their side, but they may not be in a position to take a case to London, to the Privy Council. It's extremely expensive. It's out of reach for the vast majority of Jamaicans. And I'm not even talking about criminal appeals alone, because you have other important matters that, people need to have their rights protected and need to be able to take their cases to the final court. And it's not accessible. You need a visa to go there. You have to stay in London. Very expensive place. Fly there. You have to have Privy Council agents in England that have to be paid in order to file the appeal. So there's a lot that is involved. I mean, a recent appeal, the costs are over $160 million for that appeal. I am saying, look, we believe that the regional court that Jamaica borrowed 28 million US, put into the trust fund to ensure that the court has enough money to fund itself without politicians and governments having to give them money and having control over them as a result. We've shielded them from that because there's a trust fund in place that supports their operations in perpetuity. We, Jamaica, contributed our proportionate part of that. Our part was 28 million, and we've paid those loans back and so on. We've made that investment. We were part of the design. Mr. Siaga had a say in that design. He, because of his skepticism about it, he required certain things to be put in place, which I think have improved the design of the court, and I give him credit for that. So the whole idea of the trust fund, the fact that there's a regional judicial services commission to ensure that the appointment of the judges is done in an open and transparent way, with independence being a critical aspect of it, that is in place as well. The overall structure of the CCJ is regarded internationally as a superior structure for a final court. And I think we need to give our Jamaican people access to it. Because ISAT, you're going to have other appellants who you want to take their case further and you can't do it because they don't have the money to do it. So yes, the Gaza man them, don't take the fact that the Privy Council made a ruling to say, well, it must be Privy Council, because you don't know what the CCJ would have done. They never got that chance. So, that is my response.
All right, I will say this, because I'm not going to attack you on it, save or except for you're still going to get my vote, but it's going to take more than a 6 piece of barbecue chicken to get me on that side.
You need a barrel.
And here's the thing about it, and the irony of it is, the Prime Minister who has pledged his allegiance to the King to be a part of his Privy Council and the realm and protect the realm of the King. The argument now is, you see how Mark bad mind him, no want nobody for go to England. So he might tell me, say, I Trinidad me for go and me want to go to England, because me not a British passport, So the conversations and the interest of persons it's very surface, and it doesn't answer without mature consideration and deeper conversation and finding out. Constitutional review starts with the public because it is the people's constitution. I'm very, very happy that you did not sign and that the representatives respected you and stand on that footing, because we do have a lot more to think about.
The whole thing should have started with a discussion about what is the process that we're going to engage in discussing constitutional reform, and what should the terms of reference of that discussion be. That should have been the first public debate that we have, and along with public education about what the Constitution now that we have actually says, so that we agree the way forward in terms of how we're going to approach this whole decision. Instead, the government just take it on themselves to go appoint a committee. They handpick the people on the committee other than the 2 opposition representatives that they asked me to appoint, and Mr. Hugh Small, who I recommend, he's not my appointee, but I recommended him to them because I thought the committee needed some additional strengthening. But the rest of the rest of the so-called representatives of different stakeholders are persons that the government chose. And then the terms of reference, the government determined it. So what is in the report is based on the terms of reference that the committee had at the start. Everything that was discussed in those public fora and so on, none of that is in the report. That was just PR, because the issues that the report was going to adopt and consider and adopt were set from the constitution in a way that they ought to have had. And certainly when we form government, we're going to have a much more a different approach to this. We're going to have an open approach where the design of the process is going to be one where the public have a say in how the process should work. And then when we embark on it now, we will be following a process that the public has said they accept this as the right way forward. And then we can make the actual decisions about what kind of constitution we want. So that is where we're at.
All right, so I'm going to, having this conversation, have to have more discussions with the diaspora, the people at large, because we now have a sense of why it is. It was not that you wanted to not be a republic, but that there was not mature consideration, and that is important for the people to know. The next question I'm gonna ask you before I run out of time and you run from me is, I did this AI thing on Facebook, and I don't know if you know Mark Zuckerberg or you have these friends in high places, but what was going on here? What is this?
Yeah, I know it's supporting. Obviously, why do I look like?
Who does that look like?
Well, I mean,
why are your supporters starting to look like it?
I don't know who that is, sir. But AI is a mischievous thing, you know. It can throw up all kind of images and fakery, so it's going to be increasingly a challenge to mankind in that respect. It has tremendous possibilities for improving life for everybody, but it has a side to it where it can be used mischievously, and who knows how that's going to play out. So most of the people who are very deeply involved in it think that it really needs to be regulated because of the capacity to be a force of evil in the world. So, you know, you have to listen to what those people say and take it seriously.
All right, I'm glad you said that. Now, in closing, there's so much that we could speak about. This was not an interview about profile. I wanted people to have a sense of the accessibility of Mark Golding, understanding that in 2024, when I hear conversations about race and class and culture and in keeping with our motto, what it looks like to be able to speak to somebody, learn from somebody, and knowing that you're speaking to somebody who is not discriminating against you. There were people who messaging me saying, how could you talk to Mark Golding and you get kicked out of the PNP?
You've not been kicked out of the PNP. You're welcome in the PNP. You know what happened with the Human Rights Commission, and you.
No, I don't want you to answer. Yeah. This is why context matters, because if we follow the media, we are misguided. Yeah. I've had to say to somebody, and in terms of why context matters, that I am a PNP who happens to be a lawyer.
Yes.
So people will say you're a lawyer for PNP, and not understanding what it is in terms of when you come across people who have values and who includes you and not exclude you, and the importance of that.
True.
I'm giving you the last 3 minutes to say anything you want to say, and I have nothing to add but to say thank you, and it is an honor to speak to the next Prime Minister of this country. And when it comes to God and time come. It's your time.
Well, I just want to close off by first of all thanking you, my host Isat Buchanan, a champion of the rights of the people, and somebody who's willing to think outside the box, and somebody who challenges the status quo. And and I think that's very important in our society. So I want to big you up, Isat, and thank you for having invited me to come on. And to the people of Jamaica who are listening, I would just say this: on this issue the main issue we were discussing today about the constitution and the citizenship issues and so on, think about it deeply. Think about the Jamaica we have. Think about the nature of our population here and abroad, the relationships that we rely on as a society to sustain us and to help us to grow and overcome our challenges. And think about those issues, and don't be just persuaded by arguments that may superficially appear attractive, but which are maybe not really relevant or determinative in our context. Context does matter, and we need to be aware of our context when we make critical decisions about who can represent us and where. And in terms of myself, Mark Golding, I am a Jamaican. I'm a born Jamaican. I'm fully committed to Jamaica. I've only ever lived in Jamaica, save when I was studying abroad. And I'm here to serve the people of Jamaica and to look after those who are most vulnerable and those who need that kind of support. I'm not going to sell you out. Nobody have them kind of influence over me. And I'm going to make sure that your interests are protected and to do what I can to make your lives better. So big up all Jamaicans here and abroad. One love. God bless. Thank you.
That is it. Thank you so much. And you heard it first. When the Prime Minister, when Marky G is the Prime Minister, visa for everybody at KFC. Context matters.
Don't eat too much though. All right. Blessings, blessings, blessings. All right, Isat. Enough love.
All right.
Yeah, man. Good.
All right.
I don't know how to leave.
Exciting conversation with our next prime.
Yeah, man.